Hello! I'm Elaine, and I'm a tour guide in the French Quarter. I do ghost tours. And I am not going to tell you the stories that I tell on my tour, because you gotta pay for those. But if you want to hear some interesting things that have happened to me while I'm leading random drunk people around the French Quarter, I got you. So would y'all like to hear some more inappropriate things that have happened on my tour recently? So, first one, we're at the Lalaurie Mansion, and I'm talking about the horrific things this woman has done to people. And, at this point in the story, yeah, I am talking about some of the most egregious, horrific things a human being can do to another person. And keep in mind that, yes, this woman tortured people to death. And I'm actually in the point in the story where I talk about some of the more exaggerated stuff. So, yeah, it gets bad. And at this point, I am not going into incredibly grisly details, but I am making it very clear what I'm talking about. And I'm looking around, and all the guests have that look on their face of like, oh God, this is so horrible. Like, oh my God. Except one girl. And right when I make eye contact with her, she screams out, "Sounds like my mom!" And she looks around at everybody else in the group, clearly expecting them to be like, ha ha ha, funny joke. But no, everyone is just staring at her like, what the hell is wrong with you? But a couple of nights after that, I had a group over at the Joan of Arc statue, telling them about Joan of Arc. And of course, this statue is of Joan sitting astride a beautiful big horse. And it's up about 6 feet off the ground on a pedestal. And we're standing beneath it. And this one guy is looking straight up at this horse and just interrupts me to shout, "That horse has a big dick!" And I'm just like, yeah, it's a horse. They all do, and we don't generally talk about them. But there was one guy, God bless him, he was trying his hardest to be funny, and it all just came across as really inappropriate. It started at the very first stop. I was talking about Michaela Pontalba, who is a cool woman, who at one point, her father-in-law shot her, and then shot himself after he thought she was dead, but it turns out she wasn't dead. And after the story is over, we're walking to the next stop, and the guy, squeezes through all the group, so he'll be right next to me. And what he's saying is like, "Oh yeah, man, that was really pathetic. That was really uncool." Guys sometimes do this as a very clear way of saying, "Look, I'm not like those misogynistic assholes. I care about women." But it seems that wasn't what he was doing, because he continued to say, "Yeah, it was really pathetic. He should have made sure she was dead before he killed himself. Or hell, he should have just stayed alive. Ballin'." And I'm like, oh my God, that is not the takeaway you should get from this story. What the hell is wrong with you? But his crowning achievement of inappropriateness, we were at the convent, and I was talking about skeletons of children and infants. And this is a very serious moment. Dead babies are generally a serious thing. And right when I mentioned the fact that there were skeletons of infants, he interrupts me to shout, "Oh, were they just popping them out?" And then he does a gesture. And keep in mind, this all has had a gesture. The popping them out gesture was him sort of gesturing down from his crotch as if he's catching something popping out from there. And then he does the sort of baby arms holding a cradling infant kind of thing. And then he does a gesture that I'm guessing he meant strangling them? Could have meant popping them? I don't know. All I know is I just sort of stared at him blankly for a minute before I was like, "Please hold all comments till the end." And then I continued the story, and his wife hit him on the back of the head, and I was like, "Thank you, that was inappropriate." But there was also a lovely guy on one of my tours recently. So I was giving the kumquat rule, the safe word rule, which what this is this is a rule that some tour guides use when we're in locations where weird things occasionally happen that the tour guests might be freaked out by them. And the idea is we tell people to shout out the safe word if you feel uncomfortable. And that way, even if it's something I don't see happening or something that I don't think is that bad, but other people are thinking is bad, I'll know it's time to move. And yeah, my safe word is kumquat. Other tour guides use different words. But the one thing we all tend to use in common is we look for words that are sort of fun and light and playful, because we don't want guests to think that this is too serious of a thing and get really nervous. And I'm telling people this, and this guy raises his hand and says, "I don't think, as a guy, I could say that word." And I was like, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "Well, that word, it's sort of it's girly." And I'm like, "It's a fruit, sir." And he's like, yeah, but I'm like, it's a fruit. I don't understand. But what made me inspired to actually make this video, I had a group a couple of nights ago that they mentioned going into a specific shop in the quarter, and they had a bit of an interaction with the store clerk, because she is someone that is known for being a little bit pushy. Let's just say she's a bit pushy. And I remembered that like a year and a half ago, I had a group that we're gathering around, and of course it was before we had the storefront. So before the tour started, I made sure everyone knew to go to the bathroom, and to do so they needed to go into a restaurant, buy a drink, and then they could pee. And I had one group that just decided not to take that advice, and instead they walked straight past the restaurant to the cigar shop, which I would have never encouraged them to go to a cigar shop for a bathroom. There are not public restrooms in cigar shops. But somehow, it seems this group managed to talk the lady into letting them use the private restroom, which I have no idea how they did that. She is not the kind of person you can talk into that sort of thing. But the guy goes in, and he tells me when he gets back that he went in there and he pooped, which I'm like, thank you for telling me that. I did not need to know. But it seems once he was done, he realized there was no toilet paper. So he walks to the door with his pants around his ankle and sticks his head out the bathroom door to tell the woman, hey, there's no toilet paper. To which she responds, I know. The toilet paper costs $10. And I will admit that's a ballin' move. I like that. But I will say his story did not end there. He then said, joke's on her, but I missed what the rest of the story was because another guest had come up to sign in. So I have no idea what that man did in retribution. And I am so glad I don't, because as long as I don't know, I can't be held responsible.
Don't forget to like and subscribe, and feel free to share your own experiences in the comments below.